All right, thank you much. It is Thursday, February 19th at 4 p.m. I'll call this Committee on Public Safety to order. Let the record reflect that all members are present. The first order of business is an approval of our February 5th minutes. Mr. Vice Chair.
I would move the minutes as presented.
Proper motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. We're not the public comment portion of the agenda, but everyone here has a Lansing logo on, so they're not public. If someone does come in, though, we'll allow them some time to speak. And we'll move right into our first item, which is a resolution appointing Florencio Hernandez as the first board member of the Police Board of Commissioners with a term to expire June 30th, 2029. Welcome, Mr. Hernandez. How this typically goes is tell us a little bit about yourself, why you'd like to be on the Police Board of Commissioners, and then we will put you on the hot seat and grill you for a few minutes, and then we'll see where we go.
Sounds good. So you want me to begin or?
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. I'm Florencio Hernandez. I am a Lansing resident. I used to serve on the DEI advisory board for the mayor. I have been working at Michigan State in higher education for the last 18 years. Currently, I am with the Office for Inclusive Excellence and Impact as the Outreach and Engagement Manager. And so also president of the Hispanic Latino Commission and several other local boards. And the reason I interviewed and was interested in the position in the commission is basically to continue being involved in the city. I've been part of the city government, city boards, commissions, as early as high school, from what I can remember, being part of the junior city council board. So that's just a little bit about myself. I have a resume here. It's really long, but I don't want to go through all of it. But I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have about or qualifications.
Yeah, we have your updated resume as well as your application packet. So I thank you for your interest in the commission. Now the questions from the council members.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, first of all, thanks for your willingness. Certainly exceptional, I think. Resume, I appreciate everything you've done. Even without reading this, I know of your work. So we certainly appreciate everything you've done to kind of move the dial with regard to the community. I loved in the application, there's a line in here where it says, I truly care about my city and want to be a resource and catalyst for disseminating information and capture the community's feedback and engagement with our city officials. One of the things, there has been some criticism with regard to the police commission in the past in terms of accessibility, in terms of transparency of information, in terms of inclusivity with regard to the community. So I'm wondering, well, first of all, have you ever attended a commission meeting?
No, not the police commission meeting, but I have served on other committees. For
Okay. So, and obviously this is going to change when headquarters is actually moved to the public safety complex, but they host their meetings on the second floor next door, right? And so there's been a lot of concern with regard to accessibility, parking, whatever. And I think this year, maybe 9 of their 12 meetings are actually scheduled for that space. They have 2 scheduled for south of 496, one on Miller, I think the other one's on Wise Road. And then another one at the Foster Community Building. So I've long advocated, right, to maybe get out of that space and actually meet people where they're at. But I was curious when you talk about like the meeting and dissemination of information, but then also the gathering of community feedback. What does that look like? How do you think you could potentially enhance what the police commission's already doing now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to do that, and I'll pull from some of my prior positions and words I've done in prior positions. But I think the first thing that's key is not just being accessible, but also being transparent and being that voice for the community. So I was born and raised in Lansing on the north side. I grew up with police around, and I know what community policing looks like. I know what it feels like. I know what it can do in terms of for neighborhoods and for citizens. When I speak about that, and I'm glad you mentioned moving the meetings around, because that was one of the things that we advocated for to do on the DEI advisory board, is to have those meetings outside of this building so that we could be accessible to people, right? So people could be able to come, meet people where they are in their neighborhoods. One thing that we do with the Hispanic Latino Commission is that we have listening sessions, and we do those throughout the state. This is a statewide commission under the governor. And so we have commissioners representing various cities throughout. And so we hold various listening sessions where our team will go into the community and we'll work with local leaders to bring the community together and just listen to some of their concerns and bring that back to the Hispanic Latino Commission and advise the governor on some of those issues. So listening sessions, I'm sure there's been plenty. There's a number of organizations I'm sure I'm aware of that have been working with the city in terms of addressing crime and different types of crime as well. So, when I think about that, I look at the stuff that I've been able to do with the Lansing School District as well as part of Spartan Club. And that's really a monthly thing that we did where we educated students about their opportunities beyond higher ed, right? And so just what's going on around the city. So I think listening sessions, I think working with the Lansing School District is also another important thing, but also like with our partners. And we have a university right down the street. We have Lansing Community College down the street. And then we have a lot of local community organizations that I know of, and I know that they mean well and they're doing really good work. So just strengthening those ties, strengthening those partnerships if there isn't one yet. But like I said, it's all about trust. I think it takes a lot of transparency, trust primarily with the community, and just being able to lift people's voices and bring that to the table in whatever way that may look.
Great. Have you ever attended, because this would be a first board position, right? Have you ever attended one of Ryan Cost's constituent
I
conferences?
have not. They're always on a Saturday, I think. So they don't work for me.
Oh, they just won't work. You got something else? Okay. But yeah, and you talk about neighbor groups, you talk about civic organizations. There are a number of them in the first ward, right? And you got kind of, as an example, an umbrella organization, the Eastside Neighborhood Organization. So certainly I would tap in there if you are in fact confirmed. But I like the idea. But I've also sat here with a number of folks, right? And we've talked about doing things differently in terms of as a commission to make sure that people are included. And like you said, we're meeting them where they're at, and just really has not happened, right? So I'm hoping that can change in the near future. Were you approached? I always ask this question. Were you approached by the administration about this particular position?
I was approached by community members, not
Okay.
anyone from the administration.
Right, perfect. Because my follow-up was going to be how would you maintain independence from the mayor as an example with regard to oversight. But I appreciate that. That's all I got for now.
Right. Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about how your lens or your perspective that you have from your social justice background would be utilized at all if appointed?
Oh yeah. I think with that, again, I'll add on there like trust, transparency. So first and foremost, I mean, just taking it back to when I was a kid and on the north side off of Turner Street in Hildebrandt, right? We had community policing, and trust was one of the biggest things that they had to get through in order to build those relationships with community. But given the work that I've been able to do, given my background, given that I was born and raised here in Lansing, and I've had opportunities to travel abroad and just to work with several individuals, different people, and looking at social justice from different lenses, but also looking at health and safety from different lenses as well. Because when we talk about safety, community safety, we always think about policing, but we don't think about like a traffic light or if there's like an intersection that's dangerous, pointing those things out. But when I look at things from a social justice lens, it's really looking at it through an equity lens and looking at it, looking at some of the root causes in our community in terms of when it comes to like crime or when it comes to just issues that our community may have. And so I always try to bring that in and not use my influence or my background to be like, this is how they should handle it, but looking at it from where people are and maybe some of those other social barriers that may be a hindrance and root causes is what I would say in terms of looking at things from a social lens.
Okay. So for example, if someone's not able to attend an organized or codified neighborhood meeting, you're still hoping to get their voice brought to the table.
Absolutely. We'll find ways to make it happen, whether it's a survey or fill this out or like I said, meeting them where they are. So if we need to take a different approach than what we've usually done or what's usually been done, I'm totally open for efficiency and being effective.
My last question, while there are obviously strengths to being able to keep boundaries, how do you plan to bring people together from a variety of different positions?
Yes, that's a really good question. I mean, I think it also depends on the context or the scenario, but I love to believe that people who live here because they love the city and they want to see the city thrive and do better. Um, what connects people are some common causes or common issues that we all have, but probably don't realize we do or share the same types of issues. And so, one of the things that I do is I look at some of those things, the commonalities between different social groups and different neighborhoods, and sort of try to use that to leverage their voices, but also giving them the tools and saying like, these are the tools. Like there's a lot of ways for them to actually engage with local government. And I know because I've served on several boards, and a lot of times it's two things. It's one, people just don't know that those things exist, or two, they just don't trust the system, or they just don't trust the people that are running the system. So I think bringing trust, bringing my voice, and just leveraging my relationships that I have with the community organizations, neighborhoods, partners, you name it.
Thank you.
No, and this isn't for you. I just want to publicly state, if that's it, that, man, this is a tough position to be in. And what I mean by that is we have a candidate that, when you weigh just the merits of his candidacy, is fantastic, right? We've been contacted by a number of folks that support you into this position. Excited about your candidacy, excited about you wanting to continue your work here in this community. And the thing that's tough about it is you would be replacing an individual that did an exceptional job on the commission, somebody that was still interested in continuing their time on the commission. And both of you, frankly, represent historically marginalized and underserved communities, right? And so I think the voices at the table are critically important. And so I just wanted to publicly state that, and he's actually here, that Farhan Sheikh Omar has, really honorable service, I think, to the commission over the course of how many months? Year and some change. And that, I have talked to the mayor about this, but I'm extremely supportive of finding another position on the commission should a vacancy occur, because I think to have both of you there, tremendous. But again, I certainly appreciate your service, everything you did. I certainly wish that we would have found a way to ensure that you had space moving forward on this commission, but we are committed to continuing that conversation with the mayor. Okay. But to the merits of your candidacy, certainly appreciate you being here and everything that you've done for our community. It is very much appreciated. And with that, I would move the resolution.
Proper motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Monday night, this will be in front of the city council at 7 p.m. If you can make it, we'll do a special ceremony if it passes to swear you in that night. And if you can't, you can just arrange with the clerk anytime for Monday night. That's it.
All right, sounds good. Do I have time for questions or no?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I just had one. I mean, I was on the website and I talked about tools and things that people have, and there's a commission investigator, and I just wrote down like what their job or duties are, and it's basically to register citizens complaints and the process. And I just wanted to understand like what kinds of complaints are we talking about? If any of you have dealt with that.
There's a recent example. Yeah, I won't go into too many details, but there was body cam footage, or there was social media footage of an incident involving two officers. And the process for investigating them through the internal channels would be the internal affairs investigator or the police commissioner investigator. And the police commissioner investigator took that case on. It's a little bit more, it's not more independent, but it's differently independent than the IA investigator would be. But so there's two different routes there. And that's one example. I don't know all of the examples or all the facets of what the police commissioner investigator does, but that is one of the things they do is investigate complaints and concerns related to officers.
Okay, no, that provides more context about it, because when I read this, it seemed like the commission investigator is an independent civilian investigator who works for the Board of Police Commissioners, and that's what it says. So it doesn't explain like how that person is selected or.
Maybe this. Do you have any idea does the commission actually hire them or are they hired by
They're
the
hired by the commission.
They are.
independent, but underneath the commission?
My understanding is they're hired by the commission, but they're housed to make some experience of independence, right? From the police department, they're actually housed in human relations and community service.
Yeah, I'm not sure their office, but it's not.
The other piece,
Yes.
They're supervised by HRCS, supported by HRCS.
Yes.
the other piece that kind of stuck out to me a little bit was that this person is also in charge for internal complaints against like an officer. So I don't know if that process was discussed or thought out, because it kind of like, if you're reading it from the website, it kind of seems like there could potentially be like a conflict of interest if the commission is hiring it, but they're supposed to be investigating their internally as well as civilian complaints. So it's not two different positions, correct? It seems like it was just one position under this investigator, commission investigator.
That's I don't think it means internal among commissioners. I think it means internal among like the police department.
Somebody's hired.
Is this a separate person from a police officer? They're a civilian individual hired by the commission.
Okay, so it is a separate. Okay,
No, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sorry.
that was all I had. I wanted to.
I'm not sure.
No, go for it.
Farhan, I'm just curious if you could just very quickly for the public, talk about what that looks like in practice. So the investigation piece and then how it's reported back out.
So the commission does hire the commission investigator, and there's a public complaint. That commission investigator conducts the investigation, and we have subcommittees. And so we have commissioners with 10 employee. And so commission investigator presents her findings. If it is sustained, then it is sent to the police chief. And if it's not sustained, then obviously it's dismissed.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right, that's all I had. All right.
Dave, if you can, our office staff will be in touch.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
We'll circle back to our public comment. Moving on, then we are at items C, D, E, and F. We're gonna take, this is the first time we're seeing this, so we're just discussing. today,
Absolutely.
Knowing that you've had a little bit more.
No.
background on
Yes,
this.
absolutely.
But,
Important.
I don't know, were you gonna able to address these? Or did you want to talk about it?
No, go for it.
They originated with
Yeah.
the committee, so I would let you defer to you if you want.
I mean, well, so I'll just tell you that this really started in earnest after the 4700 Pleasant Road debacle, right? And then we also had the issue with Michigan Mart. We're a community kind of organized. You might remember we passed a resolution at council where we were opposed to some liquor transfers that were before the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. And those two subject properties were involved. I think there were maybe 4 properties total. But long story short, Michigan Liquor Control Commission took a look at the sizable, just a huge volume of community input. You had a resolution from council where we're saying, look, this isn't appropriate. And we really kind of centered our argument on density of liquor stores in those areas, number one, but then also proximity to schools and to parks, and the list goes on. And so again, we were actually successful. They denied those transfer requests. The part of the applicant's due process rights were to appeal that, really with no new information, and still a ton of people from the public attending and saying, look, this is absolutely not okay, and we don't want this in our community. They overturned those decisions. So what we did instead of complaining is Ryan Cost, myself, the mayor, and a few others immediately got on the horn and said, what can we do? And so there were and are some things we're advocating for at the state level, but we also wanted to focus on what we did focus on at the local level. And so I'm kind of giving it over to Andy. What we decided was probably the best one for the city is to first define what the heck a liquor store is, right? So we had that conversation, and then also determine what we can do within our own zoning code. That was actually one of the things because I attended the appellate process. One of the commissioners said, well, basically shame on Lansing because they have some leeway within their own jurisdiction, if you will, in their own zoning code to actually set some limitations. And so we got after exploring that. So this first defines a liquor store, then it talks about proximity, liquor store to liquor store. It talks about how that is measured. I think we landed on 2,500 feet, which is about 0.47 miles, almost half a mile. And then also modifies some of the allowable use tables. And so with that, if we we had kind of taken it through the planning commission process. It was actually voted through. But then when it got to committee, late Octoberish, I don't know if it was November, there was some conversation about maybe additional things that we could add. And so DEP was to work with law and all those things. And I don't know if it ever went back before the planning commission or if there was.
It did, so
It did.
just, the allowable use changes, that came out of that.
Is that what came out of that? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So it did, yep, so that came out and that's the outdoor seating piece, I think primarily, right?
What?
Is that, or that's at least in there?
That is part of it, yes.
Okay, that's listed, in there, okay. And so it's back before us?
Okay,
I don't know.
anything to add?
Yeah, it's been reviewed twice by planning commission. The first time was to look at that definition and the buffer. And we just, as staff, let them know that they could take a look at other dimensions of the zoning ordinance. Most, I think importantly, was the allowable use table, because they would have been considered retail sales and personal services. One thing that stuck out to me personally was the MX1 district. These are kind of very small commercial districts at very specific neighborhood intersections where people go for their daily needs and services. And liquor stores maybe aren't the most appropriate for those locations. So that's kind of one of our staff recommendations. And those were reviewed by planning commission and at their January meeting.
You talked to us a little bit about where we landed in terms of a definition for a liquor store.
But it was as originally proposed by the committee. We did not, or the,
They weren't here, so I just want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can handle that, yeah.
Can you go?
So this liquor store is defined as proposed as any specially designated merchant or specially designated distributor. Those are both off-premises consumption liquor licenses that primarily engaged in the sale of those products, as well as tobacco products, vapor products, or alternative nicotine products. So, and then when the sales of both the alcohol and the tobacco products equals more than half of their volume of sales, either by
Landed out 2,500 feet.
so basically there is a
Landed out 2,500 feet.
so basically there is there's a case that's published on whether or not a municipality can have a buffer on liquor stores.
Yeah.
And the ordinance that was upheld by the Michigan courts had a buffer of that distance, so we felt safe with that distance.
And so I think you just addressed this, but let me put a point on it. So like, this does not mean liquor store can't be near a Meyer.
Brecka Meyer would probably not qualify as a liquor store anyway. Unless they
Unless the liquor
sell a
store-
ridiculous amount of liquor.
Super Bowl Sunday, perhaps. And there's no concern that this is gonna, will existing establishments be,
Right, we could, whoever's here now would be grandfathered in on the code of ordinance. So depending on how it all shakes out, there could be some legal nonconforming in the city.
So there could be some what?
It's called legal nonconforming. So they're legally allowed to be there, but they don't conform to the zoning code.
Got it.
If the layperson would say they're grandfathered in.
okay.
I thought you said legally not in informing.
Oh.
I got you. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So with existing retailers, kind of grandfathered in, and this is just ignorance on my part. The liquor licenses, they don't run with the property, do they? Or do they?
Depends on the license. There's many different kinds of
So I
licenses.
guess here's my question. 4,700, if they make a run of it, doesn't work out, they shut their business. The owner puts his license into escrow. At that point, is that
to sell
location now, is that location now off because it's within 2,500 feet of other locations?
Those questions are quite fact determinative and generally relate to the specific scenario related to that specific transaction. And I'd be loath to answer your question and give you something that would not apply to something in the future. Just because there's so many different ways that an individual might have the liquor license. And essentially, if the person, generally speaking, broad strokes, if there's a legal non-conforming use and that use is somehow no longer can occur anymore, and there's a gap in that use, then they would no longer be able to continue that use. That makes sense.
It does.
Yeah, a liquor license transfer could affect that, but that would be up to the Liquor Control Commission. If that makes sense.
Well, we'll probably move these next time around. I just wanted to have a discussion. So Sherry's on vacation, so I don't want to throw Renee a curve and change the order. So we'll bring this up next time, but I don't know that there's a reason for anyone to show up.
For the purposes of just, there's an outstanding question that was in some of the material that I don't know if there ever was a legal opinion given. There was some discussion about not permitting drive-in or drive-through liquor stores. Those are not permitted according to liquor control codes. There's no reason to address them.
Really?
There's a few that are outstanding still in the state of Michigan, but they're legally non-conforming. Yeah, so famously there was,
one that was legally not conforming in the city limits.
is it gone now?
It is.
Was
There
it
you go.
by Olympic Royal?
Yes.
Yeah.
There used to be one in Ann Arbor and that was gone in 2000.
There's one in Monroe still, I know that.
So there's still a few peppered around because that law changed within this millennium.
See, no.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
So how would we, this is probably a really easy answer. So how would we go about inventorying now all of the legitimate licensed liquor stores, what we would consider to be liquor stores, right? And obviously, as an example, Meyer won't qualify. And, obviously it deals with the off-site premise piece. How would we go about inventorying that to know when, right, this thing would be triggered?
I would kind of leave that to EDP to answer. However, the way I would envision is if there's a use that comes up that needs to be permitted, you would
Then
at that location and then inventory what might fall within the bubble around it. I don't know if you have a different answer, but that's the most economical and efficient way to do it in my mind.
Yeah, and I was almost gonna say I would defer to law. We could go through.
Because there was some mapping, right, that was done to make sure this wouldn't be exclusionary, would be excluding new businesses to, coming into the city.
I would not rely on those maps to determine whether or
No,
not.
I know, I'm just, some of that conversation.
An idea of it, but
Right.
We went through the list on Lara, and then went through individually to see like, oh, is this an actual supermarket or is this a liquor store as defined? So we'd have to kind of get into that to do the, as defined, their sales volume or inspection visual.
All right. Anything else? All right. At 4:27, we stand. Wait, what was that last thing? So we are church.
you have to vote. Did you vote?
We're not doing
for
that.
discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. All right.
I only said it twice.
I guess we could vote, just not put it on the agenda.
I apologize.
We could have done.
Since you're.
You can. What's up? Do you want me to do it here?
So
Jackson.
Yeah. Well, I'm asking,